We're on to lesson 2, and we're looking at you versus your audience. And our learning objective today is to use hyperphora, don't worry if you don't know what that is yet, I'm going to teach you, and anaphora to establish your view in contrast to your audience. Okay, so first thing we need to know is what is a hyperphora. So that's our new vocabulary. So get them down in your notes. Your hyperphora. It's a figure of speech where the speaker raises a question and then answers it themselves. It's different to a rhetorical question. A rhetorical question doesn't expect an answer, okay, but hyperphora does. Okay, it's good because it means you can pose a question and then instead of just making the audience think about it, you tell them the answer. Okay, they don't have to think that hard. You are that godlike person that tells them the answer to their problem. The figure of speech where the speaker raises a question, then answers it. Okay, an example of that in literature, you could look at Kurt Vonnegut. He says in one of his books, what should young people do with their lives? Big question. Seems very serious. Today, that's a big question, and his answer is many things. Obviously. So he answers it partly joking first, and then he answers it properly. He says, but the most important and daring thing is to create stable communities where the disease of loneliness can be cured. How sweet. So he poses the question, the thing that he wants to talk about. He answers it partly in a slightly jokey fashion so that he gets us on side. We don't think he's too serious. And then he answers it properly. He says the most important and daring thing is to create stable communities. This is his real answer. So we have the question, then we have the answer. The great thing about this example is that you can steal it. You can say, what should we do about homelessness in people's lives today? Many things, obviously, but the most important and daring thing is to create stable communities where the disease of loneliness or the disease of homelessness can be cured. You can even steal the examples. Okay, what you will also know is that yesterday you wrote something that looked like this in your established section. You wrote, as you sit slouching comfortably on your warm and cosy sofa, there is probably only one question plodding through your post-school mind. What's for dinner? Okay, I am actually asking that question. It's not really a teenager. What's for dinner? And then I answer it by saying to that, I say, consider yourself fortunate that you have the security of a meal tonight. Rather than answering the directly what's for dinner, I actually give my version of what I think they should be thinking about. So this itself is a type of hyperphora. and you've already made one of those. You made one yesterday. Okay, so now you know what you've done, and what you did was pretty clever. And what I want to do is I want to take that image a little bit further forward. Thinking about yesterday's work, that idea of what's for dinner, and that idea of a secure meal, and thinking about what we can do with it to then take it somewhere else a little bit later. But first, we're going to have a look at the anaphora so that we're really clear, because that's what we're going to do with it. So, anaphora. This is the repetition of a word or phrase at the beginning of successive sentences or successive clauses within a list of one sentence. At the beginning of successive sentences or clauses within a sentence, like a list, for example. So a good and really famous example of that is one by Charles Dickens from Hard Times. Trying to get this page right, and it goes a bit like this. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of reason. It was the age of foolishness. Okay, really famous. What I want you to do is just very quickly underline the anaphora in that example. Okay, and what you should have come up with was it was the, it was the, it was the, it was the. All of these bits, these shaded green bits, they are the anaphora. Or rather, these underlined green bits, these are the anaphora. We're going to have a look at how we can combine your hyperphora from yesterday with an anaphora today. So as I said, we'll be going back to this idea that we came up with yesterday about the meal. The fact that, to that I say, consider yourself fortunate that you have the security of a meal tonight. Okay, it's this bit. This bit is what I want to look at. So I want to think about that meal. What's on that plate? So if you're at home, you've probably got a nice, healthy, balanced diet. You've probably got some, like, I don't know, broccoli on your plate. That's broccoli, by the way, just so we're already clear. I'll label it because, you know, in case anyone's confused. Then I reckon there's probably, for you non-vegetarians out there, there's a bit of chicken on that plate. There you go, chicken bone. And then probably got some little peas, because, you know, it's good to be healthy. So you got your peas on your plate too. And then I reckon you need your carbs. So, because your pasta, you've got like sweet potato mash or whatever. Sweet potato is orange. Okay, now what do I know about this? I know that this costs this. And actually, if you're eating healthily, it's kind of expensive, so it costs some money. Now, how would we describe having? Oh dear, how would we describe having these things? Apologies, my picture was off shot, so I'll just give you a second to get any notes down that you need. Okay, well, the first thing I would describe these as is number one. It is a privilege. Okay, not everybody has that. How else would you describe it? So you can come up with 4 different ways of describing what that meal is. Is it a privilege? Is it a luxury? Is it a necessity? What is it? Now, the next bit of the establish your audience epic structure puts these ideas into practice, into a sentence, and into an anaphora. And it just goes straight after the last bit of writing you've done, and it completes it. But it looks like this. It is: consider yourselves fortunate that you have the security of a meal tonight. It is unquestionably a something. It is undoubtedly a something else, and it is indisputably something else that some people do not have access to. These are the people that it is our duty to help. Right. What you do now is you add your vocabulary from here. So it's unquestionably, I'm going to add in mine, it is a privilege. Probably not going to use a capital P. It is a privilege. And then you need to use your words to fill in these gaps. Okay? Give yourself a minute to get that done. Okay, now I want to see you do this independently. I want to see how you can manipulate this skill. Okay, what it eventually reads like is you put it together with the work we did yesterday, and it will read: as you sit slouching comfortably on your warm and cozy sofa, there is probably only one question plodding through your post-school mind. What's for dinner? To that I say, consider yourself fortunate that you have the security of a meal tonight. It is unquestionably a privilege. It is undoubtedly a luxury. It is undisputably a right that some people do not have access to. These are the people that it is our duty to help. Okay, so this is you getting into the heads of those teenagers, helping them to help other homeless teenagers. But I want to flip that. I want you to do something slightly different. I want you to rewrite your paragraph with a new audience. And that audience, they're going to be wealthy and they're going to be pensioners, old people, 65 plus. So you have to think differently about how to get into their heads. So let's go through process number 1. It's a good old person head, not too much hair, a little bit around the edges, a little bit around the sides. Good. What are they thinking about? Number 1, pensions, maybe. Cruises, old people think about cruises, right? What else do they think about? Stocks and shares? Bingo? Okay, I want you to get 5 things that they think about. Then we're going to think about where are they sat? What chair are they sat in? What is it like? How do they feel? So old people, they love a good armchair. It's nice and comfortable. This is a very badly drawn armchair again. Embarrassing myself with my non-art skills. Probably got some like fancy like round bits on the bottom. Nice comfortable bit there. Probably a cushion with a picture of a cat on it. Being very generic. Okay. So how do they feel? And also, what is this chair like? Is it a secure chair? Is it a safe chair? Then I'm thinking, how would we describe the chair? So what we want then is adjectives to describe it times 5. Okay. I'm thinking like plush. Is it luxurious? I don't know. Then I'm thinking, what is it that they're doing? What do old people do when they sit in their chair? I'm thinking, let's just go for 2 things. And then how do they sit? I'm thinking, let's just do 2 of those. Are they slouched like teenagers? Are they snoozing? What is it that they're doing? How is it that they're sitting on that chair? Give yourself a minute to finish those off. You can pause the video if you want, obviously. Once you've paused it, you've got a little bit more time. Okay. Your final thing is what we're going to do with that is you're going to write it up. Write up your new hyperphora and anaphora to establish the contrast between you and your audience. Okay? And you will start like this as you sit. There is probably one question. Plus verb, and I'm going to be cheeky, I'm going to say plus adjective. Something through your mind. Colon. Plus question, making sure you end it with a question mark. And to that I say, remember capital I, and I want you to think about using the word vulnerable or secure, and then think about also using dystopia or utopia from today's vocab. Then you're going to use your anaphora. It is unquestionably it is undoubtedly it is indisputably that many people don't have access to. But you can finish that off yourself. And this is where you add your ideas. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then end it with, these are the people that. And then you give them your call to arms, what you must do to help them. So that is your task in full, with the structure that you need to write it. Write it in your book first, and then write it into your notebook.